Welcome, everybody, to another LimeVibe Live podcast. I'm your host, the great one, Yori Araman Kemp from Nassau, Bahamas, along with my co-host, Miss Kimberly Ramkalawan. How are you doing tonight, Kimberly?
Good night, Yari. I'm doing just well. It's
Good.
the longest day of the year, so they say.
Yes, but not the
Summer solstice.
hottest.
What's that?
I say, yes, the longest, not the hottest.
It was rather hot by us here in Trinidad. You know, we have the storm that's outside
Yes.
east of us. So that's really sucking out a lot of the air. It was rather still.
Mm,
You know how I've been complaining? It's really windy. Today was very still, stagnant. The air was not moving much.
yeah.
Had some few brisk showers,
Mm,
and that was about it. There's
okay.
a lot of I'm watching the sky tonight. I was seeing a good bit of lightning, in the sky.
Mm.
So it's all lit up.
Forecasted out thunderstorm tonight by you?
Yeah, there's a lot of lightning outside in the Gulf of Paria, which is west of where I live.
Mm.
It's the sea west of Trinidad.
Okay. The Gulf of Paria.
Yeah, it's a lot happening there. We
Mm.
share the Gulf of Paria with Venezuela.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a spot right between Venezuela and Trinidad, right?
That's the ocean there.
Okay.
It's calm waters, but I was looking at the sky, even though I was seeing some clouds, there was a good bit of lightning. We can't hear the thunder because it's happening out at sea.
Yeah.
But the longest day of the year it marks the summer solstice. I was out in San Fernando at the crossing where we have a street, a strip mall of food carts.
Mhm.
I was looking at the sky, and after 7, it was still very bright in
Mhm.
certain parts of the sky. So that meant, okay, it's really the longest day of the year because you're still seeing some sun shining in the background a bit.
Yeah. Okay. That's good, man. So what was the temperature by you today, though? I think we got up to about 80 plus degrees today.
We measure everything in Celsius here, so it was about 32. It's
32?
usually around 32 degrees.
Oh,
It was
okay.
it was hot, it was mucky, yeah.
Yeah, we got up to about 30 today, 30 degrees Celsius.
Right.
Yeah.
All eyes are we're looking at Brett because Brett, as I said on Monday, usually Brett happens to come towards us, and even yesterday I was seeing that they said it was heading southwards.
Yeah.
So it had actually turned southwards and then it changed. Now it's on course toward St. Lucia. I believe St. Lucia and Martinique, they're under the storm watch, as well as Barbados and Dominica.
Yes. It continues to trend westward, right? Westward towards Central America. It's actually picking up speed too. It's about 65 miles per hour now.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's moving at about 15
Yeah.
miles.
15. Yeah. Okay. With sustained winds at 65 miles per hour. Yeah. So it's picking up steam. Actually, they said it would have been about 80 degrees, 80 miles per hour now. So I guess it's still slowly picking up steam, but
Miles per hour is quite a good bit to be categorized as a tropical storm, not so? I would think that
Yeah, I
would have meant it would have moved up to hurricane
hurricane.
status.
Yeah. They thought it would have been a hurricane by now, actually. They thought it would have been Hurricane Brett by now.
But it's expected to move over the islands probably closer to Tuesday evening into Friday morning.
Yes. Our CDB conference still going on in St. Lucia, right?
Yeah, so I'm wondering all guests and visitors in St. Lucia, how they're faring. I know Barbados had cut off some flights from to and fro the islands.
Really?
One of the airlines that recently launched the Inter-Caribbean airline a regional airline had actually issued that a lot of flights will be grounded until after Friday.
Wow.
So yeah.
Unless a caution.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. Inter-Caribbean Airlines.
Yeah,
Okay.
so most of their flights, they said, especially ones going out of Barbados,
Mhm.
Barbados Antigua, Barbados Dominica, Grenada, and stuff have been postponed at least.
Yeah. I think it's always good when we overhype and we overplay these tropical storms and these hurricanes, because people need to take it seriously because when it really hits, it really devastates, man. So any little raindrop, overplay it, go ballistic, shut everything down, man. take it really serious, and tell people prepare for it. You know.
I can understand the sense because as pilots, as aviation personnel, they're not too sure as to how the winds will be up, taking off and things like that.
Yes.
You never know how the feeder bands are going to affect, especially if you're heading south or anything.
Yes.
Um, I know pilots often they can gauge as to which direction to go, traffic control and things like that, but not too sure.
Mm,
I guess it's being safe, with these small aircraft, especially.
yeah. You think France is going to come to Martinique's aid if they were hit by a hurricane? I heard the Martinique and Guadeloupe being neglected. They're more neglected than the other.
Yes, I understand that. I know that Guadeloupe and Martinique was protesting sometime last year, calling for some sort of attention they needed because they were trying to even raise taxes on them.
Yeah, man. Yeah. France is apparently a brutal colonizer.
They are. They still have the tentacles wrapped around these small island states and they're causing a lot of distress.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Martinique, these people are part of our Caribbean community, and it's not nice to see them having to deal with things like that.
No.
High taxes, unfair conditions, making things harder for them but if you look at what's happening in France as well, they too are protesting Macron and his measures as well.
Oh yeah. Remember when they took to the streets because I think he raised the retirement age, right?
Yeah.
And people were livid, man. They nearly burned.
They were ready to tear him out of office.
Yeah, but that's a ritual with the French people. They always take to the streets. That's a tradition with the French people. They always take to the streets.
But that's something I admire in the sense that when things go bad like that, you are at least able to go and voice your opinion. Here in Trinidad, we've been taking everything silently.
Oh, you like the carnage? You like the blood? You like the blood, Kim? You like the carnage?
I'm not calling for blood. I'm not calling for anything. I'm just calling for action, protest.
Yeah.
You call for your voices.
You like the blood. You like the blood.
I remember our finance minister made this really horrible comment. He says, I raised the price of fuel 3 times and they have not rioted yet. And that was a slap in the face to Trinis. It shows that we're very passive people. We take things and, we're not going to say anything.
Most Caribbean people take things lightly because they've raised taxes here as well, too. I mean, people just, take it,
Yeah, and it's like, why are we so weak? My husband is telling me the people that came to the Caribbean are the most weakling people.
Yeah. I think they picked this basic.
See, and that's why they were easily brought here.
Yeah. Don't forget, we are the captured people. We are the captured people and the rejects, more or less. And so it's easy to dominate us and make us, domesticated and put us into subjection and subservience. It was easy to do that, we just fell right into the mold.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can take, right? You gotta stand up for your own rights. And the possibility of losing your own home because of taxes is one thing,
It's rough.
You can't afford food on the table. You can't pay your bills. Even putting fuel in your car has become so expensive to go to work.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the leaders they're taking these fancy flights all around the world.
Right, and
the biggest buffets and the biggest gala parties and events and press conferences using your tax dollars to have these things.
Living at large, yes.
Yeah, living at large. Yeah, and they don't see anything wrong with it either. But I guess that's life. That's life. This isn't different than any other time in the world, I think. Where the rich people or the in people, they got to do whatever it is they want, and the rest of us have to sit back and watch and take it. But there will come a breaking point, though, if it gets too bad. There will come a breaking point. I think so. That's why I don't like this socialist model that I think most of our Caribbean leaders they tend to trend towards, because they want to do so much to claim that they're helping the poor man, they're helping the small man, but they're redistributing wealth in a way that's socialistic and communistic, man. It's not going to work out in the end. It's not going to work out in the end. Because what's going to happen is that the structure that really tries to move all the wealth, they're going to concentrate more of the wealth into themselves, because human beings are human beings. And when it gets like that, then the people are going to really be pissed. They're really going to be upset. Then you're going to have the riots. Socialism and communism doesn't work. I don't even know why people even still think about this, man. Anyway, I'm ranting too early, Kim. I'm ranting too early. I'm ranting too early against socialism and
We, we,
communism.
we were talking about Storm Brett,
Yeah,
and we
we got to socialism.
went to Martinique, and that's where we went.
Yeah, because France is a good example. France is a good example of a socialist country, or something a democracy that's trending towards socialism, and you see it every day. People can't take the taxes. The state is too heavy. It can't take it. People are going to obviously they're going to revolt, especially free people. They're going to revolt. They're going to have enough of it. They want their money in their pocket. They don't want to give their money to a government official, to go halfway around the world talking to conferences that have little or nothing to do with them. I don't think you've been seeing this. That is that they just go with their bougie friends and they just do anything they want. I've been watching a chat group, Trinidadian chat group, where they're warning against, Caribbean leaders going around the world, essentially agreeing to, homosexual rights and gay rights.
So what's happening right now in Trinidad is that a popular bookstore in Trinidad decided that they're going to bring a book, a children's book that talks about homosexuality and the rainbow, and it's targeting children. And this comes after our Ministry of Education. There was this, people are saying it's just a rumor, but when you introduce a book like that, that is the likelihood that it's going to also end up in school libraries.
Yeah.
Right. And I heard that the bookstore has even put out something that they never judge a book by its cover, and that they don't discriminate. And
they get to kids, right?
Yeah, but it is a popular bookstore in Trinidad in the sense that when it comes to purchasing back to school supplies, and the school parents are going to be receiving their book list by the end of next week, or the start of the new school term in September. And RIK is one of the go-to suppliers of these textbooks compared to any other bookstore in the country.
That's the biggest bookstore in Trinidad, isn't it? RIK.
Right?
Yeah.
And they said that they stand by their commitment to book selling to all members of the public, regardless of gender, affiliation, or identity.
Yeah.
And they publish that they do not discriminate.
Yeah, someone who works there is a big time sissy. That's what happened. Someone who works there is a homosexual and they're just pushing their gender. They're just getting in their feelings. They forget where they live, right? But you guys can protest games if you want to,
Yesterday, there's actually a petition online for people to sign, against it. Yesterday, they decided to post the subtle art of not giving a F. Everyone knows that book novel, and they put it caption is as a little bit of motivation, but that was their clap back. That's after, deciding to put forward this children's book.
Makes sense. I don't think we should be forcing on children anyway. I mean, children should not be exposed to that kind of sexual content. Someone like, let's say in their maybe 15, 16, 17, but not someone who's under 10 years old. We don't need to form their mind into homosexual and heterosexual relationships. I don't think that's the case.
We're not even talking about, what mommy and daddy does, right? Not talking about what mommy and daddy does. We're talking about the much less what other people do.
Yes.
And they have this colorful person. You are a rainbow too. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's where the world is going. It's the darkness is hovering all over the planet, Kim.
It is, sadly. I mean, and Trinidadians are bandwagoners, and they are all for it. A lot of them are supporting it, sadly. I mean, yeah, they support it. It's your right. It's your freedom. Fine. You have a child. You talk to your child about that. You explain all of that for me. Explain that to your child. Yes, I understand. Someone is arguing that you're not born gay, and you're born gay. You can't choose who you are. If you look at research always shows that it's always formulated by environmental factors and social issues. Something had to have gone. Okay, I shouldn't even be saying anything.
Yeah. Don't go there, Kim. Don't forget, we have a community that watches us as well, too. We can't alienate them. But my thing is just against the children. Children should not be exposed to that kind of sexual content. You
I
know?
just so to protect them. I'm
Yeah.
not going to expose my children to own my own sexual life.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's at home.
Because you may be into perversions, Kim. Not me. I'm a clean man. You and Carrie may do some crazy stuff, but not me. I'm a decent man.
But I mean, even so, it's not a discussion you're not going to have until teenagers. We
Yeah.
talk about this in the sense that this is something that is only really learned when you do sciences in school, secondary school,
Yeah.
high school, right? And that's the time when, and even so, when teenagers and their hormones and puberty kicks in, you will need to have that discussion with your children.
Yeah. See, I take a religious position against, not the traditional religious position where homosexuals could burn in hell. No, I think that God created man and woman. I believe in God. First of all, that's the basis right there. That right off the top. So you should know where I'm coming from. God created man and woman, and He created man and woman to populate the earth. And to that extent, I believe that if God wanted to populate the earth in another way, He would have done something else. But no, He created man and woman to populate the earth. And anything else other than that is a sin. It's haram. It's a sin.
I'm not going to say anything in that sense. Yes, the word says that, but people, they don't want to believe the word. They say the Bible has very horrible things in it, because the Bible has things about murder and rape and incest, and they quote the book of
Yeah,
Psalms.
I admit our God is a terrible God. Our God is a terrible God. He is a terrible, angry
And
God.
so they have to be banning books. The Bible should be on top of the list, so people say. That's their justification and all of it. That's the entire argument people want to have. And
Yeah. It's either or. I mean, they can have what they want to. I just believe in that foundation. And to take away the Bible from Western civilization would be a grave mistake, because most of Western civilization was built on the tenets of the Bible. So now you want to go against 1,000, 2,000 years worth of tradition just because you want to have sex with the same sex with somebody else of your same sex? Come on. We're not going to do that for you. Get over yourself.
the Bible talks about Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And everyone says, oh, well, we always like to liken it to Sodom and Gomorrah. And we saw what happened in the Bible. And I mean, we all have sin in our own lives. Every sin, is judged by God.
Yeah. He watches us. What is this, Kim? Why would you want to insult him? Why would you want to insult the God Almighty? Same sex. By having sex with someone of the same sex. Why would you want to insult God Almighty? And He obviously created a man and woman to be together. Why would you want to insult him? Why would you want to throw His creation back in His face? Why would you?
I say let them live. I have no place to say anything to them. Let everyone do what they do. We all have to stand before our God at the end of our days and be judged.
Yes, indeed. Just don't push homosexuality on me and my kids. I want you to understand that the Bible underpins Western society.
It's just, I think you ought to stop being a bully to everyone else who's normal. You're here because of a heterosexual relationship.
Exactly.
Right? You're here because of that. And you need not to go be shoving your lifestyle down mine.
Exactly.
If I want to participate, well, fine. I leave you. You believe in love that way. Go on, love that way all you like.
And I respect my homosexual brothers and sisters, but it's just that's not me. I don't think that the Western society is not built on that. So you're trying to take away 1,000 years, 1,500 years of tradition because someone wants to have a same-sex marriage. I don't think it's worth that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's worth me upsetting my child against what tradition is to go with somebody who wants to have sex with someone of the same sex. I just don't think it's worth that. So I dismiss it on that ground itself. You're not worth all of that. Anyway, I love my brothers and sisters. I mean, they're welcome to come on there. I'm down for their views. They're free to love who they want to love, but you're not going to rip away, Western society based on who you want to have sex with. It's just not going to happen. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I believe societies have gone through this over, like how you say Sodom and Gomorrah. Since Sodom and Gomorrah, societies have been going through this, this this sexualization of their culture. The Persians, definitely the Greeks and the Romans, and they've all fallen. They've all fallen because they've gotten soft and they've gotten weak. They become lovers of men. All right. It wasn't until Rome really started to indulge and really started to go into their hedonistic lifestyle that they started to fall apart. You realize that, though, right? Everything else stemmed from their hedonistic lifestyle, and it just went downhill right after that. Every emperor after Nero just got worse and worse and worse, and weaker and weaker and weaker until it was no more, until the empire crumbled and fell apart. And I think you're going to see it with most of these, but the United States in particular, they're tearing themselves up from the inside, Kim. They're really tearing themselves up from the inside. They're fighting over things that they shouldn't have no business fighting over. Abortion rights, gay rights. You shouldn't be fighting over this stuff, man. These things are personal choices. That's something for an individual to decide within themselves, and nothing that they should put on anybody else, and nothing that you should force on them. That's an individual choice. That's between you and whoever it is you want to have that with.
Leave people to live their life however they want to live.
Exactly. But they're having these national conversations about these things.
Why we need to be accepting, why we need to be have it diverse. We need to see more of this in our TV shows, our movie screens. We need to be all inclusive and diverse, and
Exactly. And they're tearing themselves apart, man. It's sad to see, but
the narrative looks too forced. And a lot of shows, it doesn't come across as natural. It's not comedic in any way as well. And I don't care for it. And that's it. Yeah,
indeed. I think we went far left. We went far from Brett with that. We went from Brett to French domination of their territories in the Caribbean to homosexual marriage.
The conversation that Trinidad is actually having right now. There's a big petition on it.
Yeah. I think since Vice President Kamala Harris came to the region, there have been a lot of things. People have been talking about a lot of things with homosexual marriage since she came, because I think she came with that on an agenda as well. And a lot of people, she kicked up a lot of dust in a lot of Caribbean countries here when she, mentioned that, we need to be more accepting for gay rights and homosexual rights. And right now, I spoke to a lawyer friend of mine today who said that he has a case in the Supreme Court right now about a gay couple, two men. They want to have their marriage annulled in the Bahamas, but they weren't married in the Bahamas. So this is really going to test, Bahamian law. It's going to test Bahamian law. They're here now, but they want to have their marriage annulled in the Bahamas.
So why can't they go back to wherever they got married or take it back to their homeland?
I didn't get into that deep conversation with them on it. Maybe because they moved here together. Maybe because someone else is here. Maybe one of them actually moved from here. They probably got married in New York and one of them actually lived here. I'm not sure. I can't really speak to it. But I just find it weird that they're trying to get their marriage, annulled here.
Oh, well.
Yeah. This is really going to test Bahamian law. I really would like to see the outcome of that case. How is the law going to land? I think they're going to take a liberal approach to it anyway, like how they normally do. Anything the Privy Council does, the Bahamian courts, they tend to go with it. They just don't want to, rock the boat and stir the water.
Rock the boat and stir the waters.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
Stirring the waters is what's coming in our direction, and we have to be prepared to handle it as well.
Exactly. You can't run from it. You got to fight. You can't run from it. If you're going to run from controversy in times like these, you shouldn't be on the front line. You should back away. I think we have too many people who are on the front line who aren't fighters, who aren't street fighters. They're more like diplomats. And these times I'm going to call for diplomats, and these times are going to call for people who would really, street fight, who could really get down with the brass knuckles and really get down and street fight. Not someone who's going to pass the buck, and not someone who's going to be guarded and cautious in their words and their tone. Someone who's going to speak straightforward and forthright on what's right and what needs to happen. That's what this time calls for now, Kim. Not the weak, lukewarm church.
This is what takes us back to being a passive people here in the Caribbean.
Exactly.
But there often there's a good bit of a debate happening here in Trinidad about it. So we'll see. A lot of Trinidadians are open-minded. I mean, I'm open-minded too. It's like I work with them. They're okay. I have a lot of friends that are of that lifestyle, but they're not going to force it down my child's throat. They're not going to force me to do it. And I've had really candid conversations. I do love them. I've shared the word. I've shared it with them, and they're good. I'm not trying to convert them or anything, but when it's just normal conversations we usually have as
Yeah.
friends. If you're going through trouble, well, this is what I turn to. This is
Yeah.
this is how I feel about the word. This is where I find my comfort and my refuge.
Mhm.
And that's what I would share with them when they're going through their trials.
Exactly.
And it's for them to recognize it and see it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you the true love of God, the agape love of God.
Exactly. It's who will be the judge, really, Kim?
Exactly. I'm not in that position to judge, and I'm not going to judge. But
Mhm.
I'm just saying, keep away teaching certain. I'm not about even teaching sex to my children at a certain age.
Mhm.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
It doesn't need to be forced into our school curriculum either. Don't
And
be in that sense.
I'll tell you, Kim, I cursed the day my cousin first showed me porn. I cursed the day when he first showed me porn. I cursed the day. I cursed the day. I cursed the day. That was something as a 10-year-old, that was something I should not be looking at, you know?
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah,
And you parents should have the right to decide when they're going to have that discussion with their children.
exactly. The birds and the bees and how we got here and have an honest, frank conversation when they're able to intellectually handle the conversation, be intellectually mature to handle the conversation, you know?
And if they do come across homosexuality and other lifestyles, and they need to ask me questions about it, only then I will ask them, okay, well, I'll explain it to you then.
Yeah.
Only if they come across it innocently and they don't know, then you'll be forced to explain it, but not, okay, they say, here, look, a storybook, this is mandatory to read in our school because we need to inculcate this into our children's future, their
Yes.
mind, they need to be aware of and need to be
Yeah.
all. This is not going to make it any more accepting.
No.
This is not going to make it any more accepting.
What it's doing is probably trying to peel more people off, isn't it, right?
Yeah, it is pissing people off.
So, you know, it goes in, but someone who works for RIK, they're probably in that lifestyle and they think it's okay. They think they're doing something for their cause, you know. It's gonna boil down to somebody who works there, who's in the high upper echelons of that company, someone who is probably like a senior director or maybe the CEO. You know, he believes in the rainbow pride, you know, and you're gonna find that that's gonna be all that is.
For sure, I wouldn't doubt it.
Hmm.
Management is of that
Yeah.
thinking. So it's their step. They have decided to take the step forward.
Exactly.
They
And it
are
is,
actually a bunch of brothers that own several bookstores. So it's not just that's Roland Ishmael Khan. There's
okay.
Ishmael Khan and sons, and then he's the father, and then there's Nigel Khan.
Hmm.
So there's three actually bookstores. They own a good sharehold, a good stake of the pie when it comes to bookstores in Trinidad.
Okay.
It may be separate brands, but it's owned by them.
Okay. So do your investigation, Kim. Find which one of them, which one of them is where.
I probably have a good idea.
So you suspected? Okay. Well, he needs a good sitting down to. He needs a good talking to, because he shouldn't put, you know, the country in this uproar, you know. And see, that's the thing. Their cause overrides any common sense or any rationality from where they live, you know. They actually think they're doing something for the cause, but like how you say now, it's probably pissing more people off. And they're so blinded by this agenda.
Yeah, people are saying it's just a rumor that the Ministry of Education is going to put it out, but I or Minister of Education actually allude to it in a press conference some time ago. That they want to have this conversation of teaching sexuality in schools at an early age, primary level. And this is what ticked them off, right? But
Yeah. It's too early, man, Kim. It's too early. Anyway, I wish Trinidad the best. We're grappling with this. No way would that be broached here in the Bahamas. Absolutely no way. We're not even close to being there, to even having the conversation, even being insulted by a book being in our bookstores here in the Bahamas. We're just not there. I can imagine people's heads exploding. What happened in Trinidad happened here in the Bahamas. They probably have running.
Here's the thing, right? We already have that community that has their parades and they have their thing. So it's quite common here in Trinidad. It's it's a community that we've accepted and we understand they're there.
Mhm.
It's similar to what is in America. It's a minority
Yeah,
compared to majority. But that minority, their voice is so loud, it becomes bullying.
yeah, yeah.
That's my concern.
And
The
they're powerful too,
bullying.
you know.
Exactly. And they are able to rally international people to come to Trinidad.
Mhm.
Oh, we have a bunch of homophobic people here. You're not accepting of us. And they're gonna get us on, and sooner or later you're gonna see us in the Guardian in UK, you're gonna see us in New York Times in America,
Mm.
you're gonna see us in CNN and things like that. I'm
That's like
telling you.
mockery of Trinidad. I know, making a mockery of you guys, right?
And they're gonna label us as being homophobic.
Mm.
Yep.
I would say most people in Trinidad aren't homophobic anyway.
No, they it's like we understand you're there, whatever. Do
Yeah,
what you how you want to do. This is how we can see you like that. This is me saying it in real Palestine.
it's not
Like,
like
all right,
Jamaica,
oh, I would say you be you, just leave me alone. Leave me out it.
right?
Right? I don't care. I don't care what you say, you do, how you walk, you talk, however, whatever. That's how you like. You like that. You know, just leave me alone. Leave it out of my business. I don't care. We do business. That's how I do business. That's what you want. Fine. It's been around for the longest while. A lot of people have, uncles and who are probably long time like it. It's been around. Yes, we know that. We understand it's been around, and you just understand that they're there. Whatever. But when you come all hoity-toity, for you have to say this and you have to be this way. No.
Mm. You were in Jamaica, they call it Gully Queens, right? Did you see the 2014 documentary in Jamaica? Young and Gay, Jamaica's Gully Queens, where these homosexual guys and these transgender guys, they live basically in squalor in Jamaica, you know. And for a country that's so homophobic that they're being allowed to even congregate and even have a name, a specialized group for themselves, is something within itself. That's brave within itself, to be honest. Yeah. You know?
Oh,
Yeah, go to Young and Gay in Jamaica. Young and Gay, Jamaica's Gully Queens. This is on YouTube. It's easy to see. It's a 2014 Vice documentary. I saw it several years ago. It's very interesting, man. Very interesting. To show how these guys have their own subculture, their own underculture, and they live. Some of them are ostracized, cut off from society. They've been put out by their parents, but they've been able to congregate and make a community out of themselves. And they're not really attacked and assaulted the way that we see all the time in Jamaica. But it's just amazing to see them still making a go of it inside such a homophobic country like Jamaica.
that's the thing about Jamaica. Jamaica is very homophobic. Trinidad is
Yeah.
not. You see you and whatever. That's how you like to swing. That's how you like to swing, right?
Mm.
It's,
Yeah.
it's been normal.
In the
Man,
Bahamas, we're more holy rollers here in the Bahamas.
I mean,
This
we
is the Holy Roman Empire. This is the Holy Roller Empire here in the Bahamas.
I know y'all are the home of Miles Monroe.
Yeah, man. It's bad here, man. Yeah, so much self-righteous, indignant, holy rollers here in the Bahamas. I don't think God could come back here to the Bahamas where it's so holy. Yeah, they're bad. They're terrible. They're terrible, Kim. They are terrible. And everyone's in church on Sunday, but no one likes each other on Monday. Everyone's in church on Sunday, but nobody likes each other on Monday. And they're letting some of the most abominable things happen to one another. The boys are up and down shooting each other in the streets. The girls are being raped. People go and they rob their own offices, their own stores, their own companies. But they're in church on Sunday, Kim. They're in church on Sunday. You have Haitians living in squalor inside these shanty towns, but everyone's in church on Sunday. Everyone's quoting the scripture. That's them. That is them. I call them out to their face. That is them. Sickens me, man.
Yeah, the thing is, what about people who are living outside of wedlock together and things like that? That's an equal sin, right? So you look at adultery, you look at fornication, that's just as bad, right?
Whoremongering.
Attacking those two, right?
Yeah. Whoremongering. Say it, whoremongering, Kim. It's whoremongering. And we have no compunction against it,
Right.
Like it's just a part of life. Like we just do it.
Just as bad.
Yeah. You know. Anyway, I went on that's my second round for the night.
Yeah, we went.
That's two rounds tonight.
We had totally different topics. I
Yeah.
know we were supposed to talk about what's happening, the CDB conference
Yeah.
this week. Yesterday was the opening ceremony with President Dr. Jean Leon.
Yeah.
And he had some interesting things to share. His opening statements. He's looking at bringing forward some new financial instruments that would assist borrowing member countries. And he's looking to marry it with this whole bridge loan initiative that Barbados has put forward. This year's CDBT was marshalling finance for development to access to adequate and affordable financing. So his whole idea is to advance the global development agenda by adopting adopting beyond GDP measures like what the United Nations would have put forward with their multidimensional vulnerability index as guideposts. He wants to remove the whole measurement of a country's economic status by its GDP.
Yes.
See, because GDP vulnerability has proven to work against a country's development, actually.
Yeah, indeed. And GDP per capita as well.
Yes.
That's
and
measure.
In the last 2 years, I've been hearing them talking about the recovery duration adjuster framework. And that is something that the CDB has put forward when it comes to concessional financing for its borrowing member states. In the sense that it looks at what a country has endured. You see, right now we're dealing with tropical storms and hurricanes. And when countries have to deal with that, and then they have loans to pay, they're looking for development loans to even recover.
Yes.
It takes into consideration all these things, but it's not penalizing you in that sense. In the past, most multilateral banks like the IMF have penalized countries. Oh, well, you have so many things in debt. You're in so much debt because you're trying to rebuild from a storm, and you already had this many loans outstanding. How are you able to afford another loan? But it's this kind of new concessional financing that they're looking to marry with the whole bridge loan initiative that looks at what the IMF has done recently is allow these banks like the CDB, development banks, to access the special drawing rights. Dr. Leon is saying that with this now they are able to put forward more loans for their borrowing member states as well. And it says with this is pledges in exchange for currency and settling financial obligations, among other purposes. It's also to establish a more robust architecture to address vulnerable countries' loss and damages needs. That was something that they put forward, Myanmar Monthly had put forward at COP27 last year in Egypt. And it was the loss and damage fund that is also being championed by the UN CCC.
But they have on the size of the loss and damage fund, right?
They have that's the other thing. I'm not sure if that's going to happen later on.
Well, Kim, I like the way the conversation has now shifted from financing to now it's almost like a redistribution of the wealth to smaller countries. You realize that though. Yeah. She's able to subtly change Mia Barkley, that is. She's been able to subtly change the conversation from just loans to more like a redistribution by any other way, Really it's about redistribution of the wealth.
Yes, that is exactly how I think it has taken shape, you can say, And with banks like the CDB, I think it helps in a sense, in design and helping design these instruments and these new policies that would help, countries like ours, small island developing states, and helping to build resilience. It provides also liquidity and kind of offering to reposition countries to reposition themselves. It's away from GDP, and that's what President Dr. Leon was saying.
Hey, that term building resilience, that's a new lyric, isn't it? Hey,
Yeah,
build
I know.
resilience.
After the pandemic, everyone has had to come up to be resilient.
Yeah, yeah. Build resilience.
Resilient was first coined, used popular with in Jamaica when they were trying to keep their tourism sector afloat with their
Mm,
resilient corridors, right?
mm,
They had established that term, resilient corridors. It
mm.
was something that
Yes.
a lot of tourism-based countries were looking to follow as well. How
Mm,
they were able to keep tourism afloat in certain sectors. It was quite an interesting model when I looked at it.
mm,
Um, how the tourism minister had put it forward,
mm,
keeping hotels up and running, as well as keeping the chain of supply chains open, and utilizing supply chains right at home, their
mhm.
local resources rather than import. Because everything that most hotels would have imported, they had to, look inward to see what we can use locally instead. So I think it worked better, and that's how we saw resilience become popular.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're abusing the term, they're really abusing. I love the way they're abusing it, 'cause it sounds so sexy, right? Or build resilience. It's so
I think
provocative.
I think it's become overdone right now after
Of
the
course
past.
it's overdone.
It's overdone.
Of course they're overdoing it. Build resilience. It sounds so provocative, so open, and so intriguing, right? What do you mean build resilience? It's so open. What do you mean by build resilience? What does that even mean?
Right. So I know he had spoken a good, but his kind of financial infrastructure he spoke about was including a contingent for disaster financing instruments. This is what we spoke about. It
Mm,
looks at that the impact of natural hazards, contingent debt instruments to cushion the effect of exogenous shocks that
mm.
would probably come up after you have taken that loan.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
other things are happening. It's fine. It's about time that these banks actually look at the realities that we face as small
Yeah.
island developing states. This is what happens. We might be going really good, and all islands in the Caribbean can attest to this, that everybody's economy was doing pretty okay, even after storms, and then COVID came.
Yep.
No one expected the pandemic to happen and shut everything down.
Mhm.
So that was another shock. And then we had the war. The war caused us to deal with higher fuel prices.
Mm.
And that was a good chunk of our revenue going towards revenue, going towards energy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Uh,
it's
you
taking
still
all
scarred for COVID-19, huh?
consideration. Yeah, I believe we still are. And then Dominica endured storms. A lot of the islands are dealing with storms on an annual basis.
Yep.
They have to rebuild,
Mhm.
right? You have to rebuild on top of current debts and
I
situations.
believe these larger lending agencies, they knew what these small island developing states like us were up against. They were just being predatory. I,
Credit.
I just want to thank me and Marty for actually putting it out there and actually putting him on the hot seat for it.
Yeah,
So predatory lenders and actually try to help us if anything. That's what financing is for. It's supposed to help people, not to really put us in debt. But they've built this model on debt and holding us hostage for so long. For over 100 years now, they've been doing this to us. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm glad they decided to move forward with a new framework. I hope that they adopt it now and take it serious, especially with the intergovernmental agencies like the IMF and the World Bank and the IDB. I hope they really implement it and lead by example to the private sector. You know, lead by example, because a lot of debt is still owed by the private sector as well. These large banks like Goldman Sachs, like Rothschild, they still own a large portfolio of Caribbean debt and small island developing states debt. And so they too need to follow suit with the World Bank and IMF for this new Bridgetown initiative, this concessional financing, this contingency financing. And they need to get on board with it as well. That's going to be a harder sell. But if the World Bank and the IMF, they get on board with it, there's nothing that you can do to stop it, because especially they may create a model that's going to be profitable for them in the long run, because no one wants to see a country fail. They just want to see us continually in debt. But if they could build a model around it where it could be successful, that if they loan money, they actually could be paid back after a certain point in time, then I think that it could show the way for the private sector.
Yeah, I think that's what the Bridgetown Initiative is all about as well.
Yeah, yeah. And this is one way the government could actually lead in this.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of governments are noticing. One thing, the speakers at the CDB conference yesterday noticed it. There was the ambassador from Venezuela. He too spoke about the Bridgetown Initiative and seeing how, the CDB is working with it as well. And he made a remark that the global monetary system is moving in a more inclusive direction with diverse payment arrangements, and for him to say that means that they're seeing it. They're seeing that, hey, things have to change, So Venezuela had said that, as well as the ambassador from Germany. She too spoke about, the requirement of the loss and damages to be included in financial packages, So
the Caribbean is cracking some real heavy hitters, man.
Yeah, they all eyes are here too,
Yeah.
And she being from Germany, because they also have the G20 summit. And this is where these people come in, come into play, in the sense that they have that vote at that level that can facilitate these things here in the car.
Yes.
They vote.
So let's go along with the homosexual agenda. We get anything we want, right, Kim?
I didn't want to go there, but we're talking about, financing and probably seeing, hey, if they're going that way, it's all leaders to also stand up for its people. And
Mia Mottley's being a beacon of light, isn't she, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm starting to warm against her now, even though she's still kind of empty on a lot of things. I'm kind of warming up to her now, She's not as bad as what I thought she was.
I know, at least when it comes at the global level, she's been there championing the bigger picture in the long term. And I hope it really does pay off in the long term.
Yeah, it's gonna, man. I think he's gonna leave a lasting legacy in the region. We needed a transformation leader like that after a while, someone who could at least talk the game. And she was talking a different game, and that's good. That's encouraging.
Yeah. So yeah, we see also a lot of talk, obviously, climate change and mitigation and adaptation, for the region as well. So when we have these kinds of audiences at our conferences, it works in our favor, I believe.
Yes, it does. It does. Because it sends a message back to these larger countries that, hey, something is going on here. You need to pay attention here, man.
Exactly.
If you don't pay attention, China's going to pay attention.
China.
Yeah, China comes with money, Yeah, everyone noticed that $100 billion that Kamala Harris came to the Caribbean with. The Chinese can spend that on a hotel right now in Jamaica right now, easy, like that. So you can't come $100 million and expect to buy friends in the Caribbean anymore, Miss Harris. You can't do it anymore. That's chump change, man. Yeah, Bahama itself is worth $1.9 billion.
True, yeah, exactly.
Bahama itself. And the Chinese did that with their eyes closed, And they messed up a lot of the money too. So that showed you they had money to spend. And that's something that's going to last here. But you're going to throw $100 billion to everybody else to share in the region for important initiatives that you want us to believe in, like climate change, and getting guns off the street back actually save the lives of people. $100 million is not going to cut it, Ms. Harris. It's just not going to do it. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it at all. You need to get some American companies, American multinational companies, and they really need to come in and really need to do business here. Right? You need to get more than $100 million from the US government too. It's not going to cut it. It's just not going to do it. Because China will come right now and spend $100 million on a new Brian Lara Stadium in Trinidad, Kim. You know that. And they would do it. They would do it.
It's been happening.
Let's be honest now. They would do it too.
We see it. I mean, a lot of real estate here in Trinidad is actually taken up by the Chinese. You see them come right around the corner and take up a building, a huge building, might I add, with ease, and put up a supermarket.
Yeah, indeed. And the scary thing about the Chinese is once they buy something, they don't give it back. You're gonna have to take it back from them. They don't give it back to you. They don't sell it back to anybody. If you see Chinese invest in a real estate or any kind of property, any kind of real substantial property, they don't give it back. They own these things in perpetuity. And that's what's scary about them, you know. They are really cold brothers, boy. They're some real cold brothers.
Talking a bit about, I know we're talking about the islands. I heard that the Rastafarian community in St. Kitts and Nevis got the rights to use and possess marijuana.
Really?
Yeah. So this bill was passed, what day was it? I think it was yesterday.
Mhm.
It allows them to cultivate, harvest, and possess smoked cannabis as part of their personal, religious, and educational practices. So if we see Rastafarians take over St. Kitts and Nevis, we know why.
Oh Lord, pass the champagne, pass it over.
The Attorney General is likening this move to reparative justice. I'm not sure if I'm saying
Yes,
reparative
yes.
justice for the Federation's Rastafarian community, who were often targeted for their use of marijuana.
Exactly.
So
Good.
that's interesting. It's about time that this community is allowed to do it. I don't think they pose any threat to anyone, really. They're harmless people.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
exactly. Just
They-
persecution of the Rasta man.
They're just really airy.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. That's 2 chairs with St. Kitts, man. 2 chairs. Thank goodness, man.
That's being a really big person there, you know?
Mhm.
So because of this, I think they're allowed to smoke and use it in certain public areas as well. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
And what's happening is the Rastafarian rights, it comes under the Rastafarian Rights Recognition Bill 2023. And it sees that's what allowed it to be approved, as well as smoking designated areas bill. Several bills that enable this change. The Drugs Prevention, Abatement of Misuse and Abuse of Drugs Amendment Bill, as well as the Freedom of Conscious Cannabis Bill. These bills allow for this freedom to happen, and it was passed in the St. Kitts and Nevis Parliament on Tuesday.
That's good. That's good. I'm so glad for that.
Led by Dr. Terrence Drew,
Yeah.
who came to power last year, right?
Mhm. And he's a medical doctor, isn't he? So he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he said that it's not for him to judge who should smoke or who should not smoke, but he thinks it's an imperative to see that we seek to create a situation where both those who smoke and those who don't smoke can exist in harmony.
That's big news, Kim. I hope that's big news, man. That means the Rastafarian communities around the other islands could actually see some hope in the future for themselves, you know.
Hope, right? We can
I
hope.
think Jamaica, Antigua, and Barbuda have already decriminalized that for religious use for the Rastafarian communities. Now St. Kitts, so now it has to be Dominica, it has to be Barbados, it has to be the Bahamas, it has to be Trinidad, you know.
That we're still being persecuted for just a few grams.
Yeah, man.
And if you have one too many trees, you're thrown in jail.
Yeah. You know, I think the issue is, Kim, people aren't believing the science that marijuana is not as dangerous as they build it to be. You know, marijuana is not heroin, it is not cocaine, it's not the drug or the dope that people have portrayed it to be. They've lumped it into this drug and illicit narcotics, you know, category, and it just can't seem to dig itself out of it, you know. And I think the conversation needs to really be hammered home there. That is not as dangerous as even alcohol.
Yeah, but the opposition there in St. Kitts and Nevis, he is actually concerned that it will encourage islanders to operate vehicles while under the influence, you know. And he says, what happens when the festival is over and people go on the roads and la la la.
Yeah, he has a point. He has a point.
I can understand that, but
I have a concern about the productivity. I told you I went to Colorado early on this year, right? I went to Boulder, Colorado, and that's a smoke state. All right, there's legalized herb. I've seen people walking out of their minds, Kim. They're stoned out of their minds, Kim. That's not the way a growing city should be. That's not the way a growing country should be. So we should be careful about it. You know, we have enough problems with low productivity here in these islands. We don't need young men in particular walking stoned out of their minds, legally out of their mind all day, every day. We just don't need
targets the Rastafarian community, so they're allowed to practice, and it's based on their rituals and their festivals and things like that, right?
Yeah, but it's them. They really don't work with us anyway. That's fine. They can split it open
The
time. We're
average
talking about
person
we're
is
talking about the average young man. You know, I don't want it to be decriminalized for average young man either. We need to have a serious conversation about that, Kim.
this is it. One person is saying that we need to actually launch an education campaign
Mm,
about the use of marijuana. So, and this is where your responsibility comes in.
yeah,
If you want to be, open and free for all in that sense,
mm,
you need to have launch a campaign where people understand the long-term effects, people understand the use and the impact it may have on people and things like
exactly.
that. That is all. As everything, just like alcohol, there is the avenue for drug abuse, and
Mm,
so that's a conversation you need to have with your population.
indeed, 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 indeed. Let them know they're up against. Because, like I said, man, I saw people in Denver and Boulder, Colorado. I see them walking, just sitting there, staring into space, just staring into space. People tired of their minds, Kim. Yeah, it was scary. You know, it was really scary, man. I think we should really think serious about that before we decide to criminalize it, but and legalize it for young people. You know, that's a serious conversation that needs to be had. Mind you, I am for it, but this some education needs to happen and it needs to take into effect what it could do to our young people. You know, really, we really need to have that conversation.
Definitely. And if it's not happening at a national level, I would hope that parents at least do it as well.
No, they're not going to do it. These people
Something.
aren't raising their kids, Kim. Get serious. These people aren't raising their kids. You know, we wouldn't have the amount of kidnappings and murders in Trinidad and the Bahamas if these parents were really taking their kids into consideration. They're not raising these kids. They're not doing it. And it's sad. And you see it every day, Kim. You see it every day. They don't care about their children. They
Yeah,
don't. They
responsible
don't.
one
They
that do.
don't. Only when they're brought to open shame that they can say, "Oh no, I'm my good child. I raised my good child to be in church." Blah 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 blah. Not my good child, right? Yeah, I know. Only when they're brought into public shame that they start to hold up for that good child. But they haven't seen that good child in months. You know, we're holy rollers. We're the holy roller empire, Kim. This is the holy roller empire here in the Bahamas.
But according to that law, the court recognized Rastafarianism as a religion and
Yes.
use of marijuana as a sacrament in its rituals, and that is now protected by the
Mm,
St. Kitts and Nevis Constitution.
good, good. Do you ever wonder how marijuana became a sacrament inside the Rastafarian religion anyway? Like, why did they choose marijuana? Why not sunflower seeds? You know, why marijuana?
I guess it gives you some kind of celestial feeling, perhaps.
Yeah, I guess so. But why marijuana? I mean, it's not just the celestial feeling aside. You know, why did they decide that marijuana had to be their sacrament? I just don't understand how it got there. You know.
I'm not sure, but I know in Hinduism they've got their herbs and they've got their own herbs as well that causes these kinds of hallucinations and seeing. So a lot of religions have that. It allows you to go into that realm
Yes, yes, yes.
where you are enlightened.
And channel these demons.
I
And channel
guess,
these demon
yeah.
spirits. Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I believe even the natives would have probably come across those things. That's why they
Yeah.
had tobacco.
Yep.
So yeah, it's across all cultures and religions in some way or the other.
I guess so. Okay.
Some sort of intoxication to be closer to the higher being is what they believe.
And little do they know, God doesn't need anything for you to be close to Him because He's already with you.
Exactly.
You know?
But hey, that's their belief.
Yeah, that's their belief in true. Kim, we're coming towards the end of the show, man. What do you think about today? My house today with you, man.
I want to say a special prayer to our CARICOM neighbors that are bracing themselves for Tropical Storm Brett. I pray and we pray for your safety and wisdom and guidance be upon you.
Yes, yes, indeed. I pray the same thing as well. I hope you guys stay safe. in St. Lucia, Barbados, and the Lesser Antilles, right? And I hope that you guys prepare properly for it. Don't take it for light. Prepare properly for it. Get your candles, get your flashlights, make sure everything is charged up, and get your sandbags. Make sure sandbags are at the door. Make sure you have an escape route and an escape plan. If you are in low-lying areas, get to a high-lying area. If you're in a low-lying area, please get to higher ground. If you can't get the higher ground, get to a relief shelter. If you don't feel safe in your home, please take it seriously. You don't need to lose your life in a tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane. You just don't need to. So take care of yourself, people. So yeah, this is Yori Camp from the LimeVibe Live podcast. If you have not done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to our pages on Facebook and YouTube. It really helps us out. Please like, share, and subscribe to our pages on Facebook and YouTube. It really helps us out a lot. Okay, and also click the donate link button as well. Click the donate link on each of the descriptions on the Facebook and the YouTube page, and donate anything that you feel like we deserve. We'll take it from you. We really appreciate you. So thank you so much for joining us again for the LimeVibe Live podcast. This is your host, Yori Yarman Kemp. I just want to say good night on behalf of us here at LimeVibe. Kim, let's get there, man. Good show, Kim. Good show.